As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
When exactly will the Ahsoka show be taking place within the Star Wars timeline? Recently, the actress behind Sabine Wren just confirmed when the upcoming Disney Plus series Ahsoka takes place on the Star Wars timeline. Rosario Dawson is back starring as the live-action version of Ahsoka Tano and killing it, she's amazing, in her own show premiering on August 23rd with 2 episodes, only on Disney Plus. The new series will see the return of many beloved Star Wars Rebels characters from the animated show, and storylines and narratives at the same time, and also including new ones to continue on the Mandoverse. Aside from Ahsoka and Sabine, Chopper, Harrison Dula, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and Ezra Bridger, in some capacity to a point, will all make their live-action premieres in the Ahsoka show. Star Wars Rebels, the animated show, mainly takes place prior to the events of the original trilogy, but didn't shy away from using time to its advantage to progress the plot. So what does that exactly mean going forward? During a recent interview with Games Radar, Star Wars actress Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka show, explained that Ahsoka runs alongside fellow Disney Plus Star Wars series The Mandalorian Season 3, meaning that the Ahsoka show is taking place at the exact same time as The Mandalorian Season 3, at least Ahsoka Season 1 so far. There's no confirmation or denial that there is an Ahsoka Season 2 that could be in the early development. Natasha Liu Bordizzo added that the shows are all connected at the same time, saying that in full quote, "I think it's hard not to feel part of something bigger. Ahsoka runs along the same timeline as The Mandalorian Season 3, and the shows are all connected. There's just so many parallels," ending that quote right there. Of course, as we already know, is that the Ahsoka show is a continuation of what the overall Mandoverse is. That includes all seasons of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, the Ahsoka show, and Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Star Wars Skeleton Crew is another big live-action Disney Plus show that's in development that has the chance and that potential to be coming out a little bit later this year as well, towards the end of the year, maybe in November or December, as it has been teased before by some of the cast and crew. This is very similar though, however, reading from this quote, of how Ahsoka is taking place at the same time as The Mandalorian Season 3. We see many scenes throughout the Book of Boba Fett that takes place at the same time as The Mandalorian Season 2. I also find it interesting that she mentions that there's so many different parallels with the Ahsoka show and probably with The Mandalorian Season 3. We'll probably hear something about pirates invading Navarro or something along those lines with the Ahsoka show, potentially. Really things of that nature, of where you may hear about something taking place on the other side of the galaxy or at another planet in the Ahsoka show. Maybe like the Mandalorians have retooken Mandalore or something like that. Not only is Natasha Liu Bordizzo a source of this, but we also have the official Star Wars timeline book. According to the recent official Star Wars timeline book, The Mandalorian Season 3 takes place roughly in the year 11 ABY, which is 11 years after the Battle of Yavin during the events of the original trilogy in A New Hope, the first time that the Death Star was blown up. Presumably, the events of Ahsoka will transpire during that same time, seeing from what Natasha Liu Bordizzo has spoken on. This has also helped clear up some confusion among us fans who weren't necessarily sure when the show was taking place, for kind of both, for The Mandalorian Season 3 and also for the Ahsoka show, Season 1 at least. Lucasfilm never officially said where the series falls canonically, but one rumor had hinted at one time at a potential time jump midway through the Season 1 of Ahsoka, which is still a whisper and a little bit of a rumor that has been going around, so we'll see if that is the case. I have actually talked about that in a past previous video here on the channel into those regards, and pretty much to recap that of what I had spoken on is that if for anything, maybe the first episode will start during those events, right after the events of Return of the Jedi, and then from there maybe we'll have a time jump that brings us to 11 ABY. Or maybe it'll do something similar to what the Book of Boba Fett had done and give us flashbacks kind of throughout the entirety of the show, or maybe something as The Mandalorian does, with a a few different flashbacks here and there. Flashbacks that could go as far back to the Clone Wars era has been a heavily rumored thing for the Ahsoka show, with rumors and reports that Hayden Christensen would reprise his role, and maybe even Ewan McGregor, Tamora Morrison would have involvement as well. It's kind of just all whispers and rumors though, so take it all with a grain of salt, of course. Anyway, aside from all that, there has been plenty of online dialogue on Ahsoka's place in the timeline amongst us fans, especially following an official still on an Inquisitor in the show. Still, Twitter user Erica Jonesy thinks it's clear some of the Ahsoka show is going to take place before The Mandalorian. As they say, it's also fairly clear, in their opinion, that some of Ahsoka takes place at least before the events of The Mandalorian, like ever, Season 1. Not crazy that we could even get scenes set before the original trilogy, between maybe Rebels Season 2 and 4. Or maybe even earlier than that, as I had mentioned, fingers crossed, maybe some Clone Wars flashbacks could be pretty awesome. And with all of the Order 66 survivors, is a surviving Inquisitor crazy at that? As the Twitter user reads. And so that is a very fair point to bring up here, is that one of the official stills, and then also we see it in the trailer for the Ahsoka show, does show as an Inquisitor, and Inquisitors are only said to have been a thing during the events of really Star Wars Rebels during that time period with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and also the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor games. So it is kind of up in the air if it's simply a surviving Inquisitor. Why are they still inquisiting around, I guess, would be the main question. There's nobody to really work for. There's no Empire, no Darth Vader or anything like that. And then also with the fact of that, in the comics at least, Darth Vader takes all of the remaining Inquisitors out. Or as we have potentially thought so. So hopefully this is probably some type of flashback sequence. On top of that, another Twitter user did chime in saying, and keeping it simple on Twitter, asking where is Ahsoka even set in the timeline? Just simply throwing the question out there. Another fan had responded and presented some conflicting information from the official timeline book, stating that Ahsoka takes place a few months after the events of The Mandalorian Season 1, which is fairly confusing. As they read, according to the official Star Wars timeline book, Ahsoka takes place a few months after Mando Season 1. A New Hope is 19 years after Order 66, with the original trilogy going for 4 years, making 23 plus another 5 to catch up to Mando Season 1, and that overall era, which makes 27 to 28 years according to the official timeline book. So it's confusing. I think it's mainly confusing because that user, at least, I don't know about the official timeline book, but they were basing it off of the events of Order 66, not like ABY or Battle of Yavin. So maybe that could be another potential. It's confusing and it's up in the air, and the official timeline book does, I believe it does, of course, have Ahsoka in there as a show, but it might not be accurate completely. The Mandalorian was the first time Lucasfilm embraced creating Star Wars content between those events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens to ever begin with. Based on these comments by Natasha Lou Bordizzo, Ahsoka will be adding to this era, of course, as will John Watts' skeleton crew, releasing a little bit later this year, according to the cast and crew of that show. The small screen for Disney Plus has been filling the gap between the big screen trilogies, but it was also announced that a massive crossover event film directed by yours truly, Dave Filoni, is heading to theaters in sometime in a couple of years, 2026 or 2027. This August, Ahsoka will have the special opportunity to tie together the current era of Star Wars on Disney Plus, continue on the overall legacy and narrative of Star Wars Rebels, the animated show, and to act as a part of the Skywalker saga, if Hayden Christensen appears, like he is rumored to do so. Anyway, as we know, Ahsoka will premiere on August 23rd, only on Disney Plus, with 2 episodes. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and say that Ahsoka is going to be taking place during the same time as The Mandalorian Season 3, despite all the confusing kind of things that were discussed and talked about in this video. That is my final gander at it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking, and looking forward to most with the Ahsoka Disney Plus show. And so, until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching today's video. This has been Unofficial Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.